Good morning, fourth grade. I'm so happy to see you again on today. Today is Monday, May 11th. So today we're still working on chapter 1, Treasure Island, and our activity for that lesson for today will be compare and contrast. So let me just share my screen and let's get to our lesson here. Okay, let's see. Okay, so we're talking about Treasure Island, which we read last week. And we had a different activity last week. And this week, we will be working on compare and contrast. So, what I want you to do is, as I mentioned, we're still working on chapter 1. And you can freeze the video at any time. What we're going to be doing today with this lesson is comparing and contrasting two of the characters that we read about last week in Treasure Island. Those two characters will be Billy Bones, otherwise known as Captain, and also Black Dog. You would notice in our reading that we had last week that it gives a description of these two characters. So we're going to be naming some similarities of these two characters, what was the same about these two characters, and then we also are going to be naming what was different about these two characters. We also will be looking at comparing the time frame from Treasure Island compared to how we live today. Okay, so let's jump into our lesson. As I mentioned, you may need to go back and reread a portion of that excerpt that we talked about last week. So you can freeze it on any page you would like, the video, and read and find out what we said about those two characters. Okay, compare and contrast. What does it mean to compare and contrast? Think about that for a couple of seconds. What do you think that means to you? Okay. Compare and contrast means to look closely at something in order to show likeness and differences. Compare is used for showing the likeness between two or more things. So when we say compare, you want to take a look at what's the same. What did they have in common? So in this situation, we're going to look at what Black Dog and the captain had in common. And we're also going to look at what the captain and Black Dog had with their characters that was different. Okay, so here's our activity. Compare and contrast activity. Name similarities between the two characters. Let me go back a couple. So what I want you to do is get some paper. Okay, get a pencil. And you got to always do what at the top of your paper? What do you always do? Put your name and the date. All right, put your first name and your last name. Today's date is May 11th. And you're going to write at the top, compare, contrast, activity. All right, so on this first section, I want you to go back and read the story, the excerpt, because the excerpt was a portion of a bigger story, right? So go back and read and see what it says about Billy Bones, otherwise known as the captain. And then I want you to read about what it says about Black Bone. On this sheet, I want you to write down what was similar, what was alike between the captain and Black Dog. And you can freeze the video if you would like. Okay, so now we're back. So now you have your similarities, okay? Next, we're gonna look at what does it mean to compare and contrast? And we've already read that definition. Compare and contrast means to look closely at something in order to show likeness and differences. Compare is used for showing the likeness between two or more things. All right, so here we are. Next, on another sheet of paper, or if you have room at the bottom, you can write it at the bottom. Name some differences that you found in the story between these two characters. What was different when you compare and contrast Billy Bones, otherwise known as the captain, and Black Dog? What were some things that the story mentioned that was different between these two characters? You can freeze the video, of course, and write down what you found that was different. And you can always go back to the story in this video. So you can just press the rewind and go back and reread if you need to. Then lastly, we're going to look at the time frame. All right, we're going to look at name some similarities and differences of the time when this story took place compared to our times now. So on the back, you can write on the back, it's okay. You're going to write compare and contrast activity, name similarities and differences between the time of this story took place compared to how we live now. All right, so then you're going to come down a couple of lines, skip a line. Then you're going to write time frame of Treasure Island. How did he live during that time? When you read the story, how were they living? I want you to write those key details under this section. Time frame of Treasure Island. How did they live back then? Then on the other side, you're going to write today's times. How do we live today compared to how did they live back during this time when they wrote the story, Treasure Island? Okay, so that's your activity today. Reread the story. You're going to be naming some similarities between the captain and Black Dog. You're going to name some differences between the captain and Black Dog. And then lastly, we're going to talk about the time frames of Treasure Island. How did they live back then compared to now? What was different and what's similar? Okay, so that's our lesson for today, short and sweet. And then I will see you back on Wednesday, and we're going to go over the answers to these questions. So long for now. Keep reading, keep staying safe. And if you have any questions, of course, you can contact me at fwilson@mnps.org. You can take a photo. I would like for you to take a photo of your work. Email it to me so I can take a look at it and give you some feedback on it. That'll be always helpful. And if you have any questions in between time, you can email those questions as well. So long for now. See you soon.